Only one sunrise passed before six United States B-2 bombers delivered an earth-shaking strike that left Iran's most vital nuclear installation barely functional. With animosity between Washington and Tehran surging to heights unseen for many years, an anxious global audience now peers toward the Persian Gulf. Clandestine choices, covert logistics, and a desperate race against the calendar converged on an hour that may redraw Middle Eastern power lines for decades. What chain of events forged this crisis? Where could tomorrow's moves lead? Join Navy Secrets as we unravel the entire drama. Strain between America and Iran has lurked for decades, yet the current spike is uniquely hazardous. Inspectors from the International Atomic Energy Agency recently confirmed that Iranian centrifuges are refining uranium to 84.5% purity, merely a sliver below the 90% level needed to fabricate a warhead. Analysts caution that at today's tempo, Tehran might cross that threshold in less than 2 weeks, granting only a razor-thin window for any conciliatory or coercive answer from abroad. News of that startling enrichment leap jolted capitals across two continents. Israel, which has condemned Iran's nuclear dream for years, escalated its rhetoric and vowed that a Persian bomb will never be tolerated. Saudi Arabia warned that an Iranian arsenal could unleash a region-wide nuclear domino effect. The United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and Kuwait quietly heightened alert levels, fearing a strategic seesaw that could shatter the Gulf's precarious stability. European governments urged caution, yet conceded that time for pure diplomacy may be dwindling. Financial markets flinched as well, because roughly one-fifth of global crude shipments sail through the Strait of Hormuz, territory Iran can threaten. Any saber-rattling quickly ripples through energy prices. Economists predicted that even a brief skirmish could shove oil well above $120 per barrel, stoking inflation worldwide and battering fragile supply chains. American policymakers therefore confront a punishing dilemma: act decisively before Iran crosses a red line, or risk watching U.S. influence erode across the entire Middle East. Enter President Donald Trump. Back for a second term and intent on projecting resolve, he declared the United States will never sit idle should Iran edge nearer to a bomb. His toughly worded speech doubled as a message to allies and adversaries alike. Washington is prepared to unleash its most advanced arsenal if dialogue collapses. Earlier this year, Trump dispatched a letter straight to Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the first such overture since his return to the Oval Office, urging renewed talks yet bluntly warning of other instruments if Tehran refused. That correspondence divided Iran's ruling circle. Hardliners around Khamenei decried any trust in America, whereas President Masoud Pashkan signaled limited openness, provided sanctions relief accompanied negotiations. The internal rift underscored Tehran's bind. Stonewalling tumbles the economy deeper into isolation, but yielding appears politically poisonous. Amplifying pressure, satellite imagery soon revealed six B-2s settling on Diego Garcia, the Indian Ocean atoll that places America's stealth fleet squarely within reach of Iran's mountain-buried centrifuges. Diego Garcia matters because it lies safely beyond Iran's ballistic missile arc, yet near enough for round-trip bombing runs. The island's remoteness shields U.S. air crews from early attack, buying commanders precious prep time. Each B-2, tagged Spirit, costs roughly $2 billion and boasts radar-evading contours plus heat-dampening skins. For this contingency, crews loaded the 30,000-pound GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator, a bunker buster that chews through 60 meters of iron-reinforced rock. Quiet deployment of such hardware telegraphed a blunt truth: America is not bluffing. But hardware alone cannot guarantee mission success. Pentagon planners stitched together an ultra-compressed 24-hour assault blueprint relying on simultaneity, speed, and systemic overload. Six Spirits would slip away under moonless skies, meet KC-135 tankers for mid-air top-offs, then streak across the Arabian Sea at treetop altitude. Meanwhile, a carrier strike group in the northern Arabian Sea would launch FA-18EF Super Hornets and EA-18G Growlers. The Growlers' broadband jammers would smother Iranian radar screens. Super Hornets would smash node-to-node missile batteries, carving an unseen corridor for the Spirits. Inside Iranian airspace, each bomber would weave through narrow valleys toward hardened complexes burrowed below the Elborz and Zagros ranges. By releasing GBU-57s in near-synchronized pairs, Pilots intend to pulverize centrifuge halls and blast door tunnels before Tehran's command chain can even grasp the breach. The schedule allots minutes, not hours, between initial radar blackout and final weapon impact, minimizing any chance that Iranian units might mount an organized counterstrike. On paper, Iran's defensive web is formidable. Domestic engineers proudly showcase the Bavar 373 SAM system, designed to rival Russia's vaunted S-300 PMU-2, itself also fielded by Tehran. Advertised engagement envelopes reach beyond 180 miles, supported by newly networked over-the-horizon radars. Yet every modern SAM ultimately relies on unbroken sensor vision, exactly what the B-2's stealth shaping and growler jamming aim to deny. Even a fleeting detection would struggle to yield a clean missile lock before the spirits vanish again. Tehran has long answered air power asymmetry by digging. Key warheads, rockets, and enrichment labs now sit under twin layers of granite and concrete, guarded by blast doors fit for a bank vault. Iranian generals contend their underground cities guarantee a survivable deterrent. Unfortunately for them, the GBU-57 was sculpted for this precise scenario. Its dense steel nose bores downward at supersonic velocity. Then a time delay fuse sets off tons of high explosive deep inside. The Pentagon believes only a direct strike with a penetrator of this pedigree can utterly cripple underground cascades. Skeptics asked whether such theory survives real combat. The U.S. answered in Yemen last month. Between April 11th and April 13th, B-2s accompanied by naval aviation erased roughly 4/5 of Houthi missile stores, drone depots, and command tunnels in a single 72-hour blitz. Those targets sat beneath desert hills and concrete overheads thought impervious to conventional bombs. Post-strike drone footage revealed collapsed shafts and mangled rockets, dismissing any doubt about the ordnance's reach. Destroying Houthi hardware was only half the tale. The operation also demonstrated the choreography essential to shield stealth aircraft. Growlers blanketed hostile frequencies. Super Hornets rocketed radar emitters the instant they lit up. Triton drones relayed live full-motion video, updating pilots second by second. The convergence of electronic blindness, kinetic swiftness, and aerial refueling shrank the malicious threat envelope to almost nothing. Tehran's strategists sensed the lesson. If those tactics migrated north, their subterranean sanctuaries might tumble too. Washington, meanwhile, has quietly tightened maritime screws from the Red Sea to the Gulf of Oman. A picket of U.S., British, French, and Italian vessels now stalks shipping lanes where 20% of the world's crude flows each day. Saudi and Emirati frigates add depth, while Israeli submarines reputedly patrol farther south. Integrated radar nets and Aegis interceptors ring the Strait of Hormuz, daring Tehran to attempt its oft-voiced threat of closure. Military economists note that any Iranian bid to seal the waterway could invite a coalition swarm within hours. Iran perceives the encirclement keenly. In late April, Revolutionary Guard advisors discreetly withdrew from Yemen, signaling that proxy warfare had grown too costly under relentless aerial harassment. Yet, pulling those advisors home exposes Tehran to a different headache. Thousands of Hezbollah rockets, Iraqi militia drones, and Syrian smuggling corridors now risk losing Iranian logistical tether if regional supply lines fray. The regime must weigh whether provoking open conflict would detonate its own alliances. Diplomatically, escape routes are scarce. The 2015 nuclear accord has been a dead letter for years, and mutual trust between Tehran and Washington hovers near zero. Oman and Switzerland shuttle messages, yet insiders whisper that even incremental concessions are scorned by Iran's supreme leadership. For President Trump, domestic politics complicate restraint. Congressional hawks argue that failing to act before the 90% enrichment trigger would show fatal weakness. As tempers harden, each capital's room to compromise shrinks by the day. Moscow and Beijing track developments with equal parts concern and calculation. Russia sells Iran missiles, but also fears a conflagration that could slash European gas demand for Kremlin supplies. China, the Gulf's largest oil customer, frets about tanker insurance costs, yet sees an opportunity to portray itself as a neutral broker if Washington oversteps. Either way, global heavyweights could exploit any vacuum left by American indecision or Iranian escalation. Suppose bombs do fall. Iran's first riposte might rely on proxies. Hezbollah striking northern Israel, Shiite militia rockets raining on Baghdad's green zone, or drone swarms menacing U.S. bases in Kuwait and Qatar. Tel Aviv and Riyadh possess state-of-the-art missile shields, but saturation salvos could still inflict civilian tragedy, and spark calls for wider counterstrikes. Cyber retaliation is likewise plausible. Past intrusions show Iran can disrupt power grids and oil export terminals far abroad. Global markets would respond instantly. Even whispers of Hormuz disruption historically propel crude $10 upward overnight. Insurance rates for VLCC tankers could triple, forcing shippers to reroute or slow steam, magnifying delivery lags. Inflation already nagging Europe and Asia would worsen, hammering voters' wallets and pressuring politicians to stabilize energy flows at any cost. Paradoxically, Tehran might discover it reaps scant leverage if blamed for skyrocketing fuel bills in Beijing or New Delhi. Strategically, Iranian commanders face a brutal calculus. Completing a bomb grants prestige and deterrent clout, but may trigger preemptive ruin. Pausing the program risks internal backlash from hardliners who equate uranium purity with national honor. Each additional centrifuge spin thus doubles the peril. Meanwhile, Pentagon satellites and drones watch every construction crane and air vent protruding from mountain slopes, ready to cue fresh target packages within hours. Inside Iran, public sentiment is complex. Sanctions have throttled the economy, sending inflation beyond 40% and eroding household purchasing power. Younger Iranians, more connected to global culture through VPNs and social media, question the wisdom of provoking a superpower. Yet nationalist pride runs deep. Every outside threat can rally domestic unity around the flag. A strike that fails to topple enrichment entirely might actually stiffen resolve to rebuild deeper tunnels. In Washington, war rooms dissect scenarios by the hour. One matrix suggests a limited raid, cripple centrifuges, then pause for diplomacy. Another envisions rolling strikes lasting weeks, erasing missile stocks and radar nodes to postpone nuclear relaunch for a decade. A third model entertains partnership with covert Israeli assets, exploiting Mossad's granular site knowledge. Each pathway bristles with uncertainties, from civilian casualties to ransomware blowback. Meanwhile, Gulf monarchies quietly lobby American think tanks and congressional committees. Their preference? An outcome that neutralizes Iran's bomb quest without sparking firestorms over their own oil infrastructure. Patriot and Thaid batteries ring Ris Tanura and Jubail, but leaders know drones can slip through gaps. Saudi officials warn contacts in Washington that hesitation today might cost billions in refinery repairs tomorrow. The tactical excellence demonstrated over Yemen shapes expectations. Defense staffers believe the B-2 package can obliterate Natanz, Fordo, and Isfahan facilities in a single night. Yet repeat sorties might be required if subterranean chambers are deeper than public blueprints imply. Engineers map seismic signatures to gauge cavern sizes. AI crunches rich data streams, predicting where emergency generators or hidden cascades lie. All the while, strategic communications simmer. American diplomats reassure European partners they seek no regional war, only dismantlement of bomb-making pathways. Iran's state-run outlets accuse Washington of colonial bullying and vow hellish retaliation. Social media influencers, from Washington pundits to Persian-language telegram channels, magnify every rumor, whipping audiences into alternating frenzies of dread and defiance. History shows moments like this can pivot swiftly. The July 1914 tinderbox ignited in 6 weeks. The 1962 Cuban crisis cooled in 13 harrowing days. Today's timeline might be measured in hours, not months, given modern surveillance and strike reach. A single misread radar echo, a provocative tweet, or a drone glitch could cascade into decisions neither side truly wants. Yet opportunities for de-escalation persist. Swiss envoys propose phased enrichment caps. Oman suggests regional security talks, bundling maritime transit, missile ranges, and Yemen's ceasefire. Western diplomats whisper about extending limited sanctions relief if Tehran freezes enrichment at 60% and accepts 24/7 IAEA cameras. None of these ideas guarantee success, but each underscores that swords have not completely replaced words, at least not yet. Standing atop this tightrope, the world waits. Diplomacy, firepower, and economic gravity collide like tectonic plates beneath the Persian Gulf. Leaders in Washington and Tehran must decide whether to inch back from the brink or plunge into an abyss that could redraw alliances, wreck markets, and scar countless lives. The stakes could hardly be higher. The hourglass empties all the same.